Hi, welcome to another Zoomed In. I'm Brandon Chapman, and I'm joined by Associate Professor of Kinesiology, Anne Cox. And Anne, you study a lot of sport and exercise psychology, and you have something called mindfulness. And right now, you're sitting on a yoga mat. So thank you so much for joining me. Let's talk about yoga first, actually, because that's something that I've heard. I've heard some of the podcasts that you've done and some of your research. You do a lot with yoga, and that really dovetails with this mindfulness. So I guess give me an overview, and then we'll get into like how you've adapted, how you've modified for the coronavirus days that we're in. But let's just talk about your research first.
Okay. Oh, wow. Where to start? That's open. A lot of different directions. I'm trying to think. The first thing that comes to my mind is how working from home how my yoga practice and experience has allowed me to better respond to my needs and meet those needs working from home. So one of the things that we're interested in our research is how mindful activities like yoga help you really attend to the body, feel the body, notice your thoughts, notice your emotions, notice your physical sensations. So that's step one. And then from there, the ideal would be that you can then respond better instead of just reacting. So instead of just being hungry and getting angry and snapping at your family, you might be more mindfully aware that you're hungry and actually just go get something to eat or drink. So we're really interested in how physical activities that are mindful like that can help you with some of those health behaviors. Actually, we just came off one of our most recent studies was interviewing middle-aged women ages 45 to 65, and that was one of the key results. This is data we're just now analyzing, that when they engaged more in yoga, it actually led to better intake of water, better sleep, better eating habits. We're able to, again, just be aware of and respond better to our bodies. And then beyond that, just the bigger research paradigm, I'll let you ask whatever follow-up questions occur, but we're interested in the mechanisms by which yoga and other mindful activities really support physical activity motivation and positive body image. Those are two of the main kind of strands of research that I've been working a lot on over the last 6 years or so.
You mentioned other activities, and certainly you can't use every activity as your focus. I know some people they do really well when they run, right?
Right.
So what are a couple of the other activities that have maybe some applicability to mindfulness? And then why did you choose yoga? What was it about yoga that you liked so much?
Yeah, well, it's an interesting, you have to start your research line somewhere, right? And so when we started getting interested in mindfulness and asking questions about what actually happens when you are really fully present in your body while you're moving. So as opposed to what people frequently do, which is block out any physical sensation while they're moving because they don't like it or they think they might not like it. So they might be listening to loud music or podcasts or otherwise distracting themselves from it. And so we started with yoga because it's just a prime example where we know that typically, though not always, instructors are going to be directing participants to be fully present in their bodies. And we know that a lot of positive outcomes come from that. So it's a really nice context within which to study what happens when you're actually present in your body, which means you're really aware of what you're experiencing in your body. But in theory, and my colleague Sarah Ulrich French, for example, is more interested in running. In theory, any physical activity could be mindful, really. So certainly running, walking lends itself really well because it's just a little bit of a slower pace where you can sense into the way your body feels while walking. We've done some experimental studies with people walking on the treadmill. And so that's been more of an artificial environment, but it lends itself really well to being able to direct them to be mindfully aware of what's happening in their body while they're walking on the treadmill. But I'm thinking about one of the things I took advantage of when the stay-at-home orders kind of were coming down the pike. My local spin studio, shout out to Emily and Sean Field, who opened the spin studio, unfortunately, that just this past January in Pullman, they rented out their bikes almost immediately. And I was like, I want one. So I'm renting one of their nice spin bikes, and I can be mindfully aware of what that feels like when I'm on my bike. And it feels great to really just tap into the feeling of exertion and power and confidence in my body as I spin, right? So how did I get involved in yoga? I really can't remember why I started wanting to go to the studio, but what I know why I continued. And it really was, it was unlike any physical activity experience I'd ever had. And that's where I started coming to this idea that what was different about it was this intensely open awareness of what you're experiencing, just this ultimate focus on the here and the now in my body, in my mind, in my emotions. And all I knew was that I felt fantastic leaving there. I started viewing my body more positively, and it was already pretty positive, but I've struggled in the past, and I thought, wow, I have like zero concerns about my body image anymore. What's going on? And that hooked me, and it really got me thinking as a researcher about what those mechanisms are. So what we've been studying largely are the combination of being really present in your body and seeing your body from the inside out, as opposed to what most of us do, which is look in the mirror and see our bodies from the outside in. And another kind of strand of our research has been on the self-compassion that is often taught in yoga, as well as mindfulness practices, which is being really kind and accepting of where we are. And that's not always espoused in a yoga class, but it frequently is. So that's what hooked me. Yeah, just feels really good.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate this. In this setting here, zoomed in, we can be vulnerable and raw. No, I don't like to run, but I do like to walk, and I fully understand. I think that mindfulness, but I don't still see that as an inside out. That's a struggle for me, right? I still see the outside in. So I do wonder what it is about yoga that might be different, because my spouse, my wife, she seems to she loves yoga, right? And that's my segue into the COVID, because while she may have years ago done this stuff in studio, she does all this yoga at home and has for a number of years.
Mm-hmm.
And so she really doesn't go anywhere else, and so she's done fine doing it at home. So what are some of the challenges to the, I guess, at home yoga for some folks, and especially maybe for the instructors?
Yeah, so I think that pre-COVID, the challenge of at-home yoga is not having a community. So what really hooks people is not only the movement and the experience of moving mindfully, but having that community of yogis, which generally tends to be a
Yeah.
really accepting place and a friendly place. But that's been turned on its head. So I've struggled with an at-home practice. I like going to my studio. Um, but now we have multiple communities, like as many as you want, and they're all online. So me pre-COVID, I maybe was getting 3 classes in a week, and now I'm doing 7.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I'm doing it every day because there's many classes to choose from, and one of the key motivators for physical activity is having those people that you feel connected with to do it with, and it's a huge motivator. So feelings of community. I'm really excited today, right after I get off this call with you, actually, one of internationally renowned teacher that I've gone to retreats on is offering her first online classes starting today. And I'm
Okay.
just so excited because these are people you can't access. You can't, she's in Utah. I couldn't access her before. So now we have access to all these teachers everywhere. However, there's still an advantage too to having that access to your local teachers that you already have a connection to. So I teach at Moscow Kula Yoga, just 1 class a week. And I've adapted it a little bit to do a shorter class. And I had been doing a 6 p.m. class, but now that's become family dinner time every night at my house, and I don't want to give that up. I don't want to go teach a yoga class now at that time since our lives have changed. So I'm
Right.
doing a 6:30 a.m. Monday morning, 45-minute, just to help people wake up, move your bodies a little bit, 10 minutes of meditation, and get centered. And the people coming to those classes are really coming for their more local community. You know, it's the local people. They want to see the teachers they know and the people they know who have been coming to class. So I'm still myself taking 2 or 3 Kula classes from Moscow Kula Yoga every week just to see my old teachers. To me, you said, what are the challenges? I feel like the barriers have broken down. Maybe the challenge is this goes back into physical activity and movement motivation, is if you're not moving enough during the day and you just kind of start to sink into your couch deeper and deeper as the day goes on, you know that feeling of like, I haven't moved in 4 hours, now I really can't move. So a recommendation I'd make from that perspective is shifting positions or shifting postures. Like I'll sit on the floor, sit on the bed, I'll stand, and then I feel more energized to do a class later in the day. Because that sedentary inertia can definitely set in. But on the other hand, I feel like there's just way more opportunity and accessibility. So I think it's really exciting.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. So that's a lot of classes, by the way, a lot of different sessions you're doing per day. Um, you had mentioned something about, some potential initiatives that might be coming to WSU. I know WSU is always looking at for health and wellness. It seems like every year or two we get something new, right? So you don't have to get into specifics, but there are some things that I hear will be coming down the pipeline for WSU, and I can't imagine that it could come at a better time.
Yeah, I think in some of the upper echelons, a concern that's been discussed at some length is just the mental health and overall well-being of all of our faculty, and what can we do to support our faculty members' well-being in the, we don't know how long this will last, future, right? So coincidentally, on my syllabus with my undergrads, the week after spring break, I was covering mindfulness and self-compassion, and that was a coincidence. And as I was thinking about it over spring break, and I teach it in the context of physical activity, but I was thinking, I'm going to offer them some sessions to go to too, just to further support my students' mental health, to give them a place to feel more community, and all those kinds of things. I also give my students an optional 30-day mindfulness challenge. So it was to support all of those things. So I've started personally offering 2 15-minute sessions. One is at 9 a.m. Monday, because the students need a little later wake-up call, I realized. My other one is 7:30 Wednesday, because I was trying to hit the professionals who might be like, hey, my first meeting's at 8. I want that kind of reset, centering before my day starts. And those will be widely advertised really soon. And so there is a group of faculty across campus. I'm not even going to start to name them because I'll miss somebody, but I've been working with a number of faculty members over the last 6 years on mindfulness initiatives here and there. And we all met together last week, and we are trying to just take all of these resources that we have on mindfulness practices and then really get them out to faculty in particular, as well as staff. So I think that's coming really soon. And right now my sessions are open. I'm really just advertising them primarily to my students, but really they're open to anybody at WSU who needs, some additional support or community. So it'll be interesting to see how that all shakes out.
No,
I don't know if people need one more resource at this point. I don't know if people have the bandwidth to read another email about another resource.
that's
But that's why I
incredible
like
that
the
you
15 minutes.
bring
Was
that
that?
up, though. That is incredible, because that is what we're talking about on
Yeah.
in a different sphere, is how much information do we want to put out? Because if somebody's leaving looking for that one jewel, they have to go through everything again, right? And all these,
Mhm.
it's tiring as a parent, even with the schools. So yeah, and students don't have it any easier. Faculty, staff don't have it any easier. So it is finding a balance, right? But at least, at least they can maybe engage in a little yoga or something that gives them mindfulness. So yeah, no, I appreciate you joining me on this new video interview series that we're doing called Zoomed In. Definitely appreciate that. Associate professor of kinesiology, Anne Cox. And normally, Anne, I would end with like a Go Cougs, but I'm going to do Go Cougs and Namaste. How does that sound?
Oh, that sounds great.
Okay.
Namaste.